welcome to the AVS Agora. The AVS Agora is an initiative by Gasp, the first DEX to build on Eigenlayer, that showcases actively validated services, projects building on Eigenlayer, and the top talent in the Eigenlayer ecosystem. We also discuss the wider Ethereum ecosystem and new paradigms around restaking. This week, we were joined by Assaf Eli, CTO at Venn. Venn is a decentralized security infrastructure where distributed transaction validation enables automated middleware to protect ecosystems against exploits. Venn provides post-deployment prevention and alerting executed by a network of Eigenlayer operators, eliminating any single point of failure. Unfortunately, as with any brand new show or brand new initiative, we did encounter a few technical difficulties. So this is why I'm talking directly to you. Unfortunately, the space wasn't recorded natively on X. We had to start a new space from our planned and scheduled space. But luckily, we did have some backup recording, and we started recording around 5 minutes into the spaces. So to kick off the spaces, we introduced both of our speakers. On our side, we had Gleb Urinov, who is Chief Technology Officer at Gasp. And as we've already shared, we also had Assaf Eli, CTO at Venn. You guys didn't miss much from the start. We simply discussed each speaker's experience, and we also discussed what each project was building. But never mind, you can find a description of both projects in the description of this video below. So let's get started. We're going to kick off where we had asked and began speaking about how the reliance on a single point of failure or a single security paradigm within the current Ethereum ecosystem was leading to vulnerabilities and exploits. And that's where you can hear our CTO, Gleb Urinov, pick up with part of his answer. So again, apologies that we don't have the full recording. We will do for all AVS Agora spaces going forward. We run the AVS Agora every Thursday from 4 p.m. UTC, so do make sure you tune in. Without further ado, here's our CTO, Gleb Urinov.
Telling about the hacks which are happening in crypto world for well-known and audited projects. Back then, before Gasp, I was working on developing smart contract and crypto-related applications for clients in our dev house. And many times over, we saw the same set of problems which were created not by the technology, not by the products our clients were building, but by environment itself. Because we are working with something relatively new and challenging and of course exciting, that's why we all are here. Sometimes that paradigm of how we are building applications and how applications are interacting with each other can be not obvious to our users and even to builders. And that is why so many hacks or even different types of malicious actions are possible here on blockchains. For example, MEV. It's not very popular today to talk about MEV, but actually, do you know it's multi-billion market today just to extract value from people who gave no consent to pay those MEV extractors. And many of them, by the way, even pretend to be white hats because they're giving the share of what they steal back to users. But I don't really care how white hats they are if I'm getting $10 back on 100 stolen from me. So we decided to create a product, an ecosystem, a settlement layer, as I prefer to call it, or in more simple words, a cross-chain DEX, a cross-chain way to transfer and exchange value, which will mitigate those and many more other malicious use cases. And that is why, a couple of years later, we are no longer focusing on MEV only. We are no longer saying about ourselves, oh, we are MEV minimizing DEX. No, we are L1 native grade cross-chain DEX. That is Gasp.
Awesome. And that's a really comprehensive overview sort of what we do and why, more importantly. So obviously the whole concept of this space, we brought it together to discuss Eigenlayer projects and all of the projects that are building on top of Eigenlayer and a little bit more about the why. So that's sort of how we'll frame our next question. So Assaf, why is Venn building on Eigenlayer? Why is Eigenlayer such an important new piece of technology in the Ethereum ecosystem? How is it useful for Venn build, and why did you guys choose to build on Eigenlayer?
So actually, Eigenlayer is one of the once in a while there's something in the ecosystem that changing the ecosystem entirely. Back then it was DeFi, afterwards a little bit of NFTs, and now I think it's the restaking, because the restaking now gives to a lot of builders the option to build networks with the way to add penalties and rewards to their mechanism without the need to bring all the capital by themselves, and just to loan or lend the capital from the stakers in the Ethereum, for example. And I believe that we will see a lot of that and a lot of use cases in the future that use that, because it's very much more efficient that way. And this way we can kick off our network and add more security, shared security or pool security to our network in day one. This way we can, first of all, prevent from a malicious actor to manipulate the network, because it won't have enough capital to begin with, because we have enough capital to prevent that at day one. And second of all, the voting power and the rewards and solution mechanism become much more with much more variety to do so. So this is a very unique way to kick off networks.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially with the points where you don't need to bring your own stake into the line, not because you want your skin out of the game, that's not the case, but because from the day one, you can have a product which is supported by huge stake and by people who are already interested in running security for different products. So basically connecting with people with the same intent.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think it's I think Gleb, you said today, as an ecosystem and as a sort of a new paradigm. I know that phrase is overused, but as a new way of sort of securing the network and shared security, it also removes sort of the barriers of competition. So Gleb, you made a great point in our call earlier that you're not competing for that block space anymore, like on rollups and layer twos. And so it's a lot more of a collaborative ecosystem to build in. And I think that's what we're really hoping to promote through the AVS Agora and as this sort of ecosystem grows. So Gleb, also the same question to you and the same question to Gasp in general. Why was Eigenlayer, the protocol of choice? Why are we building on Eigenlayer? Why is it important for what we do, and how does it help keep Gasp secure?
Initially, it just checked all the boxes we needed for our solution, because from the very early days, we decided not to be dependent on our own economic solution. We decided to split the network liveness, which will be our responsibility of Gasp node operators, and the network security, which we want to be even bigger, even greater than we can ever accumulate on-chain. The reason for it is simple. We are not limited to a single ecosystem, to a single blockchain. We are connected those islands of economic activities which so far are disconnected or connected in a centralized way. And connecting in in centralized way is not enough. That is why we are building what we are building, a fully decentralized cross-chain solution. And for that, we need some way of restaking. And also because we need to cross that cross-chain barrier, that abyss which have not yet been crossed in a decentralized manner, we need one property we were looking for, and that is finality. We need a guarantee what everything what's happening on connected layer ones, and also on Gasp, what every operation whichever happening on Gasp network is final and cannot be reverted, cannot be retconned to a different state. Only then and only then we can verifiably prove some state to different system. And we were looking for a system which can provide us with such property. And Eigenlayer actually doing more. As you said, Elliot, that's not an ecosystem designed for competition. With all other projects, with Venn, with other teams, we are not competing for success here. And success of one of our projects does not mean more cost or more effort for everyone else here who are connected to Eigenlayer and AVS operators. Instead, it means more opportunity for cooperation. We are not fighting over the same resource. We are reusing the same resource, the restaking. And that is why I do believe what Eigenlayer is building really paradigm changing thing. As Assaf, exactly as you said, that is something new, something very important in evolution of blockchains. Because think about it this way. Several years ago, we had CryptoKitties, which were very popular and congested the network. And every single transaction I sent on Ethereum, I was not playing CryptoKitties. I was just swapping my tokens on Uniswap version 1 and version 2 back then. But every single transaction got several dozens dollars more costly because people were playing CryptoKitties. That is environment for competition even of totally unrelated products. And now we are changing it.
And do you think that all of the sort of roll-ups and the layer twos that emerge to sort of combat that problem, and I've been in crypto long enough to remember CryptoKitties congesting the Ethereum network and Ethereum gas, sky high, and now it's a pleasant surprise to see gas at just a few dollars or even less. But all of the roll-ups and layer twos that were created to sort of solve this scaling problem and problem with gas, what inherently are the issues with those ecosystems? Why can't we continue to just use roll-ups? Is that a problem of fragmentation of the ecosystem? Or could we foresee that they'll eventually run into the same or similar problems to the Ethereum network? Why was Eigenlayer that key piece of technology? And this is a question to both speakers, but that key piece of technology that adds that extra layer of usability?
Well, first of all, rollups are great. For what they are doing, they are exceptional. Basically, from one shared pool of resources, now we have a lot of pools which are somewhat interconnected. However, those are still pools of the same resource we need to fight over. And with growth of popularity, we can increase the fragmentation, created more pools of those liquidities. It's somewhat similar to what European nations were doing during colonial era. If we don't have enough resource on our own land, let's go overseas and take someone else. That was not funny, but that's sort of similar of what rollups are doing. Instead, they are not stealing the land, they are creating the new one. However, if we want to build strong foundation, and foundation in that metaphorical example is very concrete thing. It's actually the stake, the amount of value we need to lock to guarantee security of those new application, of those new things going to be built. We need to concentrate it. And our world with rollups growing, it's becoming more fragmented. That means it is more difficult to make something which is concentrated. And here I wanted to ask Assaf, how do you approach that multi-chain approach, the multi-chain situation? Because I think your product is suitable to monitor not only single ecosystem, but a multitude of those. So being like a central hub of providing that smart contract security, not to a single place, but to everyone out there.
Yeah. So I will address the both points. First, to your point, because we have the security, and now I'm separating the two terms of security. There's security in terms of malicious transactions and cyber deaths and vulnerabilities and so on. And there's security in terms of economic security, when someone taking advantage on a whole network just by having the power to change things. And what Eigen gives all the AVSs, it's the ability to maintain this economic security in one place and reusing it exactly as Gleb said. The reusing term is exactly right in this situation. They enable the AVSs to reuse the economic security and being able to provide tools for a lot of other networks. And some of them are L2s, of course, and so on. And exactly the same we do. We create an interoperability way to monitor and prevent hacks from happening in different kind of networks, even not EVMs. We start with EVMs, but it can be not just EVMs. It can be any network at all. It doesn't have to be just EVM. And we use the same security that we get from the Eigen ecosystem on Ethereum. So we just maintain the security in one place. You reuse the same security that each other network, it can be even other securities networks, and etc. That reusing the same economic security on Ethereum. And this is what it gives also to L2s. So it's also answering your question about the L2s. L2 at the beginning is they needed to create their own network. They needed to create their own community in terms of to maintain. They have one sequencer at the moment. It will become much more in the future, but they need to maintain one sequencer, but a lot of nodes, and to use some of them use also validators and so on. And to maintain that, they need to have some staking. They need to have some economic security also. Now they can kick off their networks also with the same resources that everyone else are using without competing on these resources. So this is very important also for the L2s and also for us. It's enabling us to protect other networks and not only EVMs.
I absolutely love it, because that is what generally missing from EVM and the general smart contract world and crypto application world. Couple years ago, everyone was talking about on-chain insurance, but on-chain insurance, however interesting model, can only work with one bucket within one ecosystem. And to cover it all, using the insurance model, you need to build a silo in each of interconnected or maybe even not connected networks. But with your solution, with Venn, we no longer need it. We have one thing which guarantees safety for everyone out there. And that is the thing I really love about every product we have in Eigenlayer ecosystem. And yes, I would like to refer to it as an ecosystem. We are looking beyond. We are no longer limited to what we have on a single blockchain. We are delivering solution from which everyone out there in crypto can benefit.
It's like having an airplane on a country that you didn't have even a car before that. So It's letting you the option to move to other networks and still have the same home in the same place that you already have with the same resources that you already have.
Yes, exactly.
That's a great analogy as well. Yeah, I like how you described that. I think so. We were at SEC earlier this year, and one of the biggest focuses was AVS and restaking and infra days. All of these sort of side events that were discussed in the restaking ecosystem. Eigenlayer had a heavy presence there. Do you think that this is, obviously in crypto we see trends come and go. Do you think this is something that is going to become an underlying fundamental that is long-lasting in the space? You know, Eigenlayer is going to become basically a key player and shape blockchain's future? Or do you think this is part of a wider trend and we could see something else emerging that is either parallel to it or you know, competitive to the way that Eigenlayer is designed?
I believe that we will see both. We will see a competitive point of views and competitive tools, etc. I believe that Eigenlayer as the hedge and the advantage here is coming first as creating this turn and more advanced at the moment. And in somehow it will become, I believe, in not very fast from now, but a few years from now, it will become some kind like Flashbots become part of the Ethereum in some way. I believe that it will be also the same for maybe Eigenlayer, but definitely restaking will become some kind of inherently inside the Ethereum ecosystem. And maybe even all the other ecosystem, the chains that are coming are going to come up. It's more efficient. It's just need to be more battle tested, and that everyone will be familiar with that. So it will take some time, but I believe that it will be inherently something inside the core technology of the blockchains.
However, because we can use restaking in theory for any purpose, we can build a competing protocol which can efficiently be a copy of Eigenlayer, which will be operating on the same stake because, cooperation, not competition, and we can reuse the same stake for different restaking platforms, and new ones can emerge as a specialized one, or maybe more incentivizing ones, or maybe just fresh and meme and popular ones, because they don't need to bite off the stake pie on top of which Eigenlayer is built on. They can use the same resource. However, I totally agree what Eigen is moving towards being the single, the standard, the first restaking layer of Ethereum. And as we all know, the majority of economic activity nowadays on blockchain worlds is happening on Ethereum. And Eigenlayer is a default one. However, I'm already starting to think in the future. And one question bothers me and sometimes preventing my good night's sleep is, what if the value which is secured by Eigenlayer restaking by entire Ethereum stake becomes bigger than that Ethereum stake? Because we have so many layer 2s, we have so many rollups, we have so many yet disconnected solutions which are getting connected thanks to Venn, thanks to Gasp, thanks to other protocols. What will happen when economic value of those will grow bigger than Eigenlayer? We will need some cross-chain restaking solution, and that is a thing of the future.
What do you think the risks of that scenario occurring would be?
It's very simple. if it is economic solution, imagine you overtaking stake on Ethereum. Well, yeah, that's a lot of stake, but real world is huge. There are lots of money in it. Imagine someone buying out the majority or supermajority of Ethereum stake and stealing all the value from every connected chain and application all at once. And by the way, keeping their Ethereum stake. So I will get away with that grand theft of all crypto value out there. That is, however, currently hypothetical scenario, but there is yet nothing to prevent it from happening one day. It's extremely complex, it's extremely expensive, however, not impossible.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this sort of builds on some of the concerns. I mean, originally, everyone knows that originally Vitalik had some initial concerns about overcomplicating Ethereum's consensus mechanism beyond its original design. And also he was concerned about sort of broadening the responsibility of Ethereum validators to secure other chains. Do you think that this that concept that we've just discussed was one of the concerns that Vitalik may have had about restaking, or do you think there are other factors at play in that they don't want to see the Ethereum sort of validators working on other chains? Do you think that's a genuine concern, or is it perhaps selfish by Ethereum core?
In my opinion, the vision of Ethereum and especially the approach of Vitalik become a little bit more, let's call it outsourcing in some way. There's a few problems that Ethereum will face, and the last problems, all the other problems, they will some kind of outsource it. This is the roll-up approach, roll-up focused approach that Ethereum have now. They trying to maintain the simplicity in Ethereum as much as possible, and to try first to tackle these problems with solutions out of Ethereum. And eventually some of this solution may be even implemented in the core tech, but it will be a long way, and that each one of the steps will implement one simple solution from the outside into the core tech. But at first it will be leaning on the outsourcing kind of approach.
Do you think Venn can be one of those solutions? Because you're providing a security which is in a way stake independent, and you can prevent certain actions even from stakeholders.
Yes, it can become at some point. I believe that very far away, because we have also in our roadmap a few more capabilities that we will add to the ecosystem that will become more, in some kind, more deterministic, and in some kind more privacy to the operators that we have. And at some point, when it will become enough actors, it will be scaled enough for enough actors to play as operators. And right now we are using the intersubjectivity in the consensus mechanism, but in some of the cases we might use something more deterministic. Then that's the point that it can become part of the core tech, but I believe that it will take much more time from the mechanism that Flashbots added, for example, because they add something more deterministic. We have something that it's more because security incident at the moment that at beginning, it can become a little bit blur, because when it's stealing money from a protocol, it's very black and white. You can know if it happened or didn't happen, and can distinguish between a malicious transaction or not very easily. But when it's maybe MEV or maybe phishing or rug pulls or etc., it's become a little bit harder to decide right away if it's malicious or not, and then it will become harder to add it to the core tech because it's not deterministic. So I believe that the moment that this will become more deterministic, it will has the ability to become one of the core tech of the ecosystem.
Yeah, looking forward and totally agree. Some people like us believe MAV is a theft and fighting with it, and some other believe it's a great way to extract some extra buck and integrating it to Ethereum.
Yeah, Aster?
Awesome. So I think the next sort of question, and this basically harks back to the entire reason why we started the AVS Agora, is, Eigenlayer is a fairly new ecosystem. There's still only a handful of actively validated services that are live building, and we really want to find ways to sort of bring these projects together, showcase what they're building, showcase why they're building in the Eigenlayer ecosystem, and really move forward because, as Gleb said, we're not competing for sort of block space, really move forward collaboratively as an ecosystem. But I'm really interested to get your guys' insights on how we can do that. How can we build better models of cooperation within the Eigenlayer ecosystem? And how can we increase cooperation between projects? And just within that as well, it could be interesting to discuss whether Gasp, for instance, could use Venn build for security, or vice versa, whether there's any of our features that you think Venn build could use. So just discussion around that.
I'm actually already thinking about using your guys' technology for several actions which are required for gas to work, to operate smoothly. We have a concept of so-called fairies, people who are closing deals for users, speeding up the deposits of withdrawals based on their knowledge. And that is basically probably the same thing as operating whether the transaction is legitimate or not, and decided whether to close it, so risking your own money, or leave it to be closed to be decided by Eigenlayer whether it is true or not. We have a concept of cancellation for malicious actions which are accepting finalization, which will be eventually deemed by Eigenlayer as breaking the rules of the network, but they can be cancelled earlier. So again, people will have decisions, outcomes of their actions earlier. And that's all, from my point of view, from what I heard from you, Assaf, very much fits in the description of what you're doing.
Yeah, that's the flexibility of doing things out of the chain. When you have the ability to rely on the security of the chain and doing things out of the chain, you have the ability to do much more than what you're limited on chain. And the security, or prevent in the first step something malicious from happening. And malicious can be interpreted in each case differently. For example, in your case, malicious can be someone doing that and that, and for other protocols, someone doing this and that, and they can create a decentralized firewall for their network, because now there is off-chain ability to do so. This is perfectly what I think the vision of Eigenlayer is supposed to be, and I think that it is, to be able to collaborate between AVSs that way.
And I think what we are doing here, Agora, is the best way of bringing us together, discussing our solutions, and finding that potential cooperation strategies, potential partnerships, how we can grow together, increase our ecosystem together, and attract more users and satisfy more of their needs.
Absolutely. And once again, I just want to thank you guys at Venn, and especially yourself, Assaf, for being sort of the guinea pigs on our first AVS Agora. Obviously, we ironed out some issues at the start there. I know that this space isn't recording now as a result of that, but I am recording it separately, so we've got the majority of this to listen back to. So we're coming sort of to the end of the space, and I think this is a really good opportunity to just share a few bits about, upcoming roadmaps. So what's on the horizon for you guys at Venn? What are you most excited about in the next few months? And what are some key milestones that we can expect to see from you guys?
Yeah, so we are currently in the testnet of our network. We are checking the last year and a half X in Ethereum to maintain a very low false positive, false negatives, and a very low latency. And so everyone can connect the network very easily, very fast, with a great performance. Later on, it's going to be live. Each network can connect, each dApp can connect, and using that decentralized firewall for their ecosystem, actually preventing malicious transaction and hackers from doing their own. After that, we are going to add privacy to this solution, so everyone that wants to send a transaction without being mapped can do so. Just for example, changing configuration in dApp without anyone trying to front run that, you will be able to do so also in the network. After that, we have the ability to create sub-networks for security. For example, you can have your own sub-network of a few operators that protect on specific cases that they are experts in, and so on. So we have a lot to bring in the future.
And on the Gasp side, the main thing we are thinking about, we are looking forward, we are working on is the mainnet launch. That might be the toughest time, but also one of the most interesting periods. But for me, I'm more looking forward for what's coming after the mainnet launch. And the most interesting part for me personally is connectivity with other projects, collaboration, to create something new, to expand what we provide to our users and how we can better fit to satisfy their needs. So exploring possible cooperation with Venn is obviously included into it because I'm really intrigued by what you guys are doing and how can we integrate to benefits of Gasp.
Thanks. That's great to hear, and I'm looking forward to collaborate.
Great.
100%, yeah, and I think that's what's most interesting. I mean, I'm only speaking as a marketer as well, but that's one of the things that's most interesting about the Eigenlayer ecosystem is that there are so many projects that are at the same stage, which is quite rare. There seems to be a lot of projects which are now in testnet phase and they're about to launch, and there's a lot of excitement around that. So it's a really great ecosystem to be part of. I think, that's sort of where we're at for time. Obviously, we went over a little bit there because we had some technical difficulties. Once again, thanks, Assaf, for your patience with that. It's a really, really, great time, I think, to be part of the Eigenlayer ecosystem. It's been fantastic speaking to you guys. Just wondered if you had any last sort of comments or anything that you wanted to say before we bring that to a close.
It's great being here, and let's build.
Awesome. And Gleb?
Thank you. Thank you, Assaf, and thank you everyone for being here, and looking forward for next episodes of Agora. I may not be present as a speaker, but I'm definitely looking forward to hear out the news and to meet new projects.
Fantastic. And just on that note, the AVS Agora is going to run every single Thursday at 4 p.m. UTC. So we've got quite a great pipeline of speakers. Venn Build, we would love to have you guys back now that we've ironed out some of those creases at the beginning of the space. And we're going to open this out to more of a round table style. So we're going to have multiple speakers from a lot of different AVS projects who can potentially all join at once, and we can have some really rich conversations about how the Eigenlayer ecosystem is growing. So once again, thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Assaf and Venn Build. Thanks once again for being our guinea pigs on the very first inaugural AVS Agora. Hope everyone has a great evening wherever you are in the world, and please tune in next time.